Audio streaming giant Spotify is slashing 1,500 jobs. That's about 1 in 6 employees. A company spokesman could not tell us today how many of those cuts will be in Canada. The move is also to cope with current economic realities, as well as correcting what turns out to be an overly exuberant expansion a few years ago. Jeannie Lee is here with more on all of this. So, Jeannie, hasn't Spotify already been in layoff mode?
Well, you're right about that, Hillary. Earlier this year, in January, in fact, it let go 500 people and another 200 in June. And Spotify CEO said today in a letter posted on the Spotify website that he could have continued incrementally cutting, but decided that the better approach was to just rip off the Band-Aid and do one major cut in order to reflect this change in strategy. So this letter was posted on the website, and it basically quoted Danielle Ek, who is the CEO, as saying the economic growth has slowed dramatically. So again, the economy that affects all of us, the broader context of what's been happening economically. And also, capital has become more expensive. So referring to the interest rate hikes that we've seen since March of 2022. Spotify is not an exception to these realities. And to be blunt, many smart, talented, and hardworking people will be departing us. So we're talking about 1,500 departures in all. That's about 17% of the entire workforce. Severance payments will average 5 months each. And this is coming after a quarter in which Spotify did manage to make a profit, a relatively small profit of $35 million US, and did add about 6 million subscribers for a total of 226 million around the world. So it's come quite far in a short time in terms of building subscribers and getting back to a profit situation.
So if it's making money and it's adding subscribers, then why is it letting loose so many employees here?
Because as a business, obviously, Spotify, like so many others, really wants to make more in profit, make them more steady, because it really has been spotty for Spotify when it comes to making money consistently quarter after quarter. And one way, of course, to make money is to save costs. And we're talking about a lot of salaries there that we just talked about. And of course, it also wants to shift some of the strategy that happened a few years ago. You mentioned the exuberant overexpansion. As it turns out, it was overexpansion. And it happened with so many tech companies. Just as the start of the lockdown period began, a lot of strange and sudden demand for things that people weren't demanding before, like streaming services and online shopping, etc. So there was a lot of expansion, adding staff at that time, which of course no longer applies because life has more normalized and the economy, meanwhile, has become much tougher. So those two factors really driving the change at Spotify. And here's another. It spent $1.4 billion on pricey podcast deals. And I'm showing you a picture of Meghan Markle because she and Prince Harry, of course, had a very lucrative exclusive deal with Spotify to produce podcasts, and that did not pan out, and it was canceled. And so many others were as well, because you think everyone wants to hear these podcasts, but then as time goes by, not so much. The other thing is Spotify found that in its expansion, it had too many people just supporting in support roles as opposed to actual content creator roles or directly in contact with content creation. And so you can make some cuts there. And the other thing is overall, it just became too bloated, too weighed down, not nimble, not efficient, which is the way Spotify actually grew to become such a popular service by being a startup and having that mentality of being quick, nimble, and resourceful.